Characteristics make for a more resilient community?
A better informed community. And a city hall that's engaged with not only the elected officials but also the community and has various touchstones in the community to get the information out, and information on how to react to the catastrophe, but also how to get support services. Closely allied with that is the public safety departments, as well as the other primary responders that people don't usually think about, and that's streets, quality of life, and so forth. What do you think?
From my perspective in the IT department, I think one of the critical factors is having those essential elements of information laid out for first responders in any capacity, whether it's planning or the actual response activities. I think knowing where your resources are and where they're deployed is extremely important, and also an innovative approach. I mean, one of the things that the city manager had introduced is interactive monitors for us to monitor flood activities and utilize the police surveillance systems as an ingredient in our response tasks and try to identify the hardest hit areas first.
So what are the biggest challenges your community faces related to sustainability, climate change, or extreme weather events?
Having the public believe us. We recently were trying to educate the community about the hazards of a 100-year flood. And we've had some flooding events that have been significant, not even 25-year floods, but we're not prepared for a 100-year flood. And individuals tend to look at the environment and they say, well, you know, we're in the middle of a drought. How can we think about having a flood? So passing that information out, making sure that they digest it, understand it, and act accordingly with that information is a challenge for us. And we've had that experience not too long ago with flood control.
I think communication was a challenge that we faced, and it's been addressed through our reverse 911 system. I think that does a great deal to abate some of the difficulties getting the information out to citizens. And at this point, it's incumbent on their participation once they're notified. And so I think the more that we enhance and encourage what their participation does for the community's response as a whole, they'll be more apt to participate.
I'm noticing that a big challenge is changing behavior. So you have a lot of individuals who have lived a lifestyle for a certain way. Either they're just throwing their recyclables in the trash to now having to sort it, or being able to water their lawns because they've had that lawn for years and years, saying, well, now I got to turn my water off. What am I going to do? So that's where the community, I feel, struggling, is just the behavioral challenges.
Great. So how do you currently use GIS in your resilience efforts, and in what areas do you use it?
I think I'll have Danielle answer that.
Very good. Right now, as an aside, we're participating with the ESRI team and our account manager in a comprehensive GIS evaluation of all city operations. And so at this point, we're going through department by department, function by function, to see how GIS integrates and can serve as the repository for information for the city throughout the various different operations, because we all serve the same geographical locations. In terms of how it contributes to our resiliency related to disaster response or recovery, we use Web EOC for our Emergency Operations Center. We're also cataloging different assets within the community in terms of camera locations for surveillance and monitoring, in terms of the flood master plan, where we are most likely to flood first. We've mapped that out through not the GIS department, but the city has mapped out very specifically what areas are prone to flooding through a very advanced storm modeling system. And so with that, GIS plays a role in capturing all data throughout the city, through every operation, so that when a disaster does hit, we know where our assets are in the field, and we know what areas are most likely to, or most prone to flooding first.
It also, Danielle reminded me of this with her response, it also gives us another tool if we have a disaster in the community to access funds from FEMA, because not only do we have the narrative and the budget forms, but we also have maps that show what happened, where it happened, and it just makes for a better package when we submit those reimbursements.
On a land use and open space, it really provides those layers of identifying where existing roads are, where there's trails, where there's open space, and if there are links, and if we need to have additional links for the community to access those resources.
What are your thoughts on the event so far? Are there any ideas that you're excited about sharing with your community?
So far, during the discussion, there was there's ideas of competition, which I think is great amongst the community. You can do it at a school district level, residents, regional level, even amongst city departments, which, the city departments in our city are very competitive. So if it's energy use, if it's transportation like the carpooling, ride share, things like that, and getting the community involved in the competitions that have been discussed in today's discussions would be great.
I think part of the synergy in the room is hearing all the different communities and their various struggles, and how it's very similar to we're seeking the same solutions, we're seeking the same kinds of services in terms of information push out to the community on various different items versus self-service for the community versus mapping. They're a common theme throughout all the geographical locations that are represented in the room, and I think it's very encouraging to hear all of the different ideas that people are bringing up.
I agree with both comments. And what I'd like to take you through is that I liked even the mechanics of this meeting. The facilitators, their presentations were comprehensive, but very, very quickly we moved through those. Certainly the person that's taking down the notes has been very, very efficient, and there hasn't been any dead space. And then I think the combination of the people that you have and the number of people is adequate. I think that when we've gone to ICMA and we have the Sustainability Committee, you have 50 or 70 people sitting in the room, and this is just more productive. Everyone is contributing, and I'm learning some. I must have made like 20 notes on ideas that people had. So I would attend another one of these if it came about. So I'm very happy with it. I'm very pleased, and we're going to get some good information and things that we can apply and put in place from this.